thrust the Dark Rolling Wars? Are they trying to commit to the field? Or are they trying to play a little bit more balanced? But we'll have to find out as game 1 is underway.
Yeah, let's see who's going to go first. And it looks like the dice have been rolled. The hands have been shook. And as we said, yep, Couch is on Kashtira, Pack on Purrely.
Both these decks are pretty well equipped to go second.
I imagine we're going to see a lot of this week, and these are 2 of the top decks for sure going into it. I know after the last Forbidden Limitless, a lot of people thought Purrely was, was a sleepy memory of sorts. It was kind of going to fade into the background there, but it's definitely been proven itself to still be a top contender, even with that limitation to Purrely Delicious Memory. But it does look like Couch is starting with probably the best card you can start with in Kashtira, and that's Pot of Prosperity.
Yeah. There are so few monsters in the Kashtira strategy, being able to see the top 6 cards of your deck, while also just choosing to banish cards that you can attach for a Rise Heart, getting these additional effects that Kashtira was never supposed to have. It's truly a card that I don't think was ever meant to be as good as it is. Oh, and this I love to see, because even though there are a lot of cards that you can Ash Blossom in the Kashtira strategy, it is best to just hit these power spells to cut them off monsters, because there really aren't that many anymore. There's only 2 copies of Unicorn and 3 copies of Fenrir, and the other ones don't really matter.
1 copy of Terraforming?
Yes. Yeah, so I would like to see Ash Blossom used on Pot of Prosperity or the field spell here, Pressured Planet, but unfortunately, if you have both,
it doesn't really matter which one you're going to Ash. I do like hitting the Pot of Prosperity, because usually with the Pot of Prosperity, if they do have that Terraforming or the other monster, they're digging for a card that's going to go on top of what they're about to combo off on you. So being able to stop that is pretty strong as well.
It looks like Dom is going for a copy of Kashtira Birth, likely meaning that he already has access to Theosis, or just already has enough in his hand that he doesn't need to commit. And this is where we find what strategy he's going to go. Because Kashtira can adapt, and even with lists that are pretty much the same across the board, they can just choose to have completely different endfields. But it starts right here.
I mean, yeah, you could even go into Raid Raptor combos even. There's a various amount of lines you can take, but it does look like this is the start. He did special summon the Unicorns. He's controlled on monsters. The Unicorn added that Kashtira Birth. Then Kashtira Birth, while it's on the field, it lets you normal summon level 7 monsters. Any level 7 monster. It doesn't have to be a normal monster, so if you're looking to normal summon a Gate Guardian piece, Kashtira Birth is your way to go. But he did normal summon that Fenrir, and then the Fenrir added Rise Heart to the hand.
So Dom could choose to play conservatively here, and it seems like that is what's going to happen, opting not to go for the Shangri-Ira play that's been popular lately, opting to end on Shangri-Ira as well as a 3-material Rise Heart. Instead, maybe just a singular Rise Heart, playing around cards like Nibiru the Primal Being.
Yeah, but you could be able to, if he turns that Rise Heart into a level 7, you could just use all 3 to go into the Rise Heart. It's kind of that classic simple combo. And with cards like Forbidden Lance, it's pretty strong too, because as long as you have a way to protect your Rise Heart, it can be pretty devastating, especially against a deck like Purrely. While you can side stuff like Dimension Shifter in the deck, you still definitely want your quick plays going to the graveyard so you can reattach them to your Xyz monsters. Yeah,
the deck is definitely, one of the biggest strengths of Purrely is its longevity, especially with cards like My Friend Purrely, being able to get those spells back. If you cut that part off of the Purrely deck, it's really not doing very much, especially since every single quick play spell, to get that effect to summon a monster from the deck, comes at a cost of a card in your hand, even though it's not actually a cost. But it's one of those things where the trade-off is not that strong until you get those cards back.
Okay, so we do see something unique here. I mean, it's not unique, but we saw it kind of when Kashtira first came out. We saw some people playing with Preparations, I believe. But now we see him summon the Ogre, and Ogre lets you add a trap card, and yeah, he's going to grab Kashtira Preparations. Tell me, is that card kind of risen in popularity since the limitation on a Rise Heart?
I'd argue it's heavily dropped.
Okay, so this is something that no one's been really trying out, something Couch has brought here himself.
Yeah, which is interesting. He's opting to go for the play that no longer plays around Nibiru, because this is summon number 5. But still only ending on Unicorn or Rise Heart. He could have opted to make Shangri-Ira, but I think he just really wanted to be able to resolve Unicorn, have access to Prep. I believe he did have access to a Forbidden Lance as well to protect the Rise Heart. Prep is interesting here because, I mean, it has a really strong effect outside of its own effect to just summon.
Kashtira Preparations. Yes. When I hear you say Prep, I mean, I'm always going Preparation of Rights every time.
Yes. To clarify, Kashtira Preparations has this additional effect that if a trap card is used, you get to do some powerful effect. I forgot. It's actually one of those sleeper effects, right?
Yeah, a lot of cards have those, we almost call hidden effects, right? Where they're effects that don't come up very often, but if you know they do in those niche scenarios, it can be really impactful. But it does look like Pack had the Book of Moon, and Couch responds with that Forbidden Lance, keeping that a Rise Heart face up on the field.
And now a Rise Heart is going to be able to attach one of those banished cards from either side, choosing to go into that Prosperity pile, being able to grab anything that that can be proven useful later. It looks like it's going for the Garura, so not necessarily if the Arise Heart is able to use its effect, but if it were to be destroyed for any other reason, you get that draw.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge bonus from Pot of Prosperity, and definitely makes that Ash feel a little worse. But Pack does have my friend Purrely here, so he's going to try and activate that. And we see a main deck copy of Cosmic Cyclone coming around the couch. I do love Cosmic Cyclone a lot right now. It can hit Kashtira Birth. It can hit my friend Purrely, as we see here. It goes after Runic Fountain. It's actually pretty solid here. So Couch making the decision to main deck Cosmic Cyclone, already paying dividends here in round number 2 of our World Championship point playoff. He's going to get another one of those materials that got banished off of Pot of Prosperity. All right, he's going to activate the Purrely Field Cell. It's going to be the Stray Purrely Street.
So now, if Pack were to summon any, special summon any monsters this turn, they will not be targeted just for this turn.
The turn they're summoned, yeah.
Yes. But it's a bit risky now, considering there's only 2 cards in his hand.
Monsters, all of them, yep. But if you normal summon, I can. Yeah. Cool.
So Pack has 2 cards left in his deck. Maybe one of them is going to be, it looks like Sleepy Memory.
I forget which one this is.
So it takes no battle damage for the first battle damage, I believe, for this one.
Yeah, a lot of them, their first effect, like it's impactful, but it's something not too meaningful. But the big effect they're trying to get for him is the discard to spell summon a Purrely. And looks like you can discard a second copy of my friend Purrely. See if he decides to go for Purrely or Purrely.
Likely has to go
Purrely, right?
Or because he's already attempted to use the effect of my friend at this point.
Oh yeah, so getting my friend wouldn't do him any. I forgot because it's banished here. Yep.
And then
so
there won't be a graveyard to go for.
Yeah, it's not looking good here for Pat.
Really needs his Purrely to hit off of this Excavate 3.
Oh, he's just going to go for the field spell.
Okay. So he will be able to target monsters after, and then choose to Preparation back the Fenrir.
Oh, and then he's just going to banish the Purrely after the effect resolves. So now we're seeing why he's using that Preparations. Okay, that's cool. I like it. Heads up here from Couch.
Yeah, normally you usually saw Preparations in earlier builds of Kashtira when you're able to have either Telemans Kashtira or Scareclaw Kashtira to banish a copy of a Rise Heart that was destroyed in some fashion and being able to reborn it, just so you have access to the banish effect still. But this is just even more powerful, being able to summon the actual individual bodies, and this gives them so much more follow-up as well.
Just Unicorn. I'll concede.
Yep, and that is enough for Pack. He is going to concede game 1. Dom only 1 game away from moving on in the World Championship playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did what he designed his deck to do there in that game. Yeah. Like, this is his combo, I think, where he gets the Rise Heart. The Preparations is going to let him have the Fenrir Unicorn, because both those effects are incredible in their own right. And yeah, Pack maybe he was trying to get to a Zeus line somehow to fight back, because that's one strength of Purrely is, yeah, they have all the awesome extra deck monsters, but they can go into a huge material Zeus very easily, but wasn't able to quite get it going, and Couch was able to handily take that game number 1. And I mean, due to his main deck choices, with the Preparations was huge, which you said isn't very popular right now. Definitely played a key factor in there, because other than that, he just had the Arise Heart. And then he also, the Cosmic Cyclone, in the main deck. I mean, I know we didn't see it, but Pack also chose the main deck Cosmic Cyclone, so I'm seeing a trend here. This is something a lot of players going in this week and realize, well, I know it's been a stable side deck card for a long time now. And since pretty much the Runic cards came out, I think everyone's been citing Cosmic for that deck, but now with every deck having a continuous spell, something to hit, even the bare minimum a field spell, and then just trap decks like Labyrinth and stuff being around, being able to hit those, I can really respect deciding to main deck stuff like Cosmic Cyclone. I know we have a bittersweet relationship with Cosmic Cyclone. It's been there for us when we needed it, and it's also not shown up in the past.
Yeah, Cosmic Cyclone is definitely one of those forms of removal that is so good at what it does because of its ability to banish. But I think right now, just being as formidable into Runic as it is into Labyrinth, Labyrinth especially, because of their options to use the more furniture type of strategy, like the more monster-heavy Labyrinth monsters, right? They're going to be able to use the effect of Stovey and Kuklok in hand. You want to be able to hit those trap cards before they're before they're able to use the Kuklok.
So when you're playing against Labyrinth, do you have 2 Cosmic Cyclones in your hand? Do you set one, keep one in your hand, maybe to try and hit at the end phase?
You at least keep one in your hand.
Because more than likely they're going to do it and try and set it in phase. I could see that for sure.
It's the only way to get truly blown out. So.
It's your one chance to, because yeah, Labyrinth is one of those decks, once the ball gets rolling, it's hard to stop. And Purrely also can be that way too. I mean, looking at his deck list, it does look like Pat kind of designed his deck to go second more with, Book of Moon, Dark Ruler no more, Cosmics. But going second there, he didn't have that Dark Ruler no more. I think if he drawn into something like that, he might have been able to fight through that board. But then again, the preparations did add another layer to where he'd be able to play around the card. So maybe that's another reason Couch included Kashtira preparations into the deck, is because stuff like main deck Dark Ruler no more is so popular right now.
I think Pac did play an optimal amount of those kind of cards to play into something like a Rise Heart, but that's why Dom chose to still play something along the lines of Forbidden Lance, and that's what happened, right?
Yeah,
he had
the Lance for the Book of Moon too. That's very true. Yeah, Forbidden Lance, there's a deck that's going to I go back to Dino Rabbit, right? Rescue Rabbit into Logia and Dolka. That was another deck that used Macrocosmos, Forbidden Lance. It feels very similar, but the Kashtira deck is just so much stronger. Instead of summoning Kabazools or Sabersaurs, you got Fenrir and Unicorn, which are arguably just as good as Rescue Rabbit themselves.
Yeah, that's one of the ways I've seen this deck play, because Kashtira is oddly flexible, even though like the cards themselves are so rigid. You can just choose to not make a Rise Heart at all, not make Shangri, just leave Unicorn and Fenrir, and that's sometimes just good enough.
Yeah, they're really powerful effects. Like, yeah, the deck existed before a Rise Heart, for sure. But obviously, if you have a chance to go there and do a Rise Heart, that Macrocosmos effect, banishing every card is just so devastating against so many matchups. I mean, it's really warped the meta and how people design their decks and how they go about building their strategies. But now that Pac's going to have a chance to go first, I'm sure he was able to side deck in some things, possibly going first. No, maybe not. A lot of side decks nowadays are more geared for going second. You can prep your main deck for going first, because if you're going to do the die roll, you're choosing to go first, you might want to build your deck that way as well. But you want to cover both your bases, because you're only going to go first half the time probably. Or if you're like me, you just lose all your die rolls.
I think at the very least, having cards like Cosmic Cyclone in your main deck, that's a card that's significantly better when you get to start, because it's, again, limiting the amount of access to monsters that the Kashtira deck has.
Which is weird to think about like that, yeah.
Like, you're just choosing to hit the Birth as well as Pressured Planet as often as you can. You want to cut them off. Like, if they draw Unicorn naturally, fantastic. But outside of that, you want to just be able to find any way to cut them off of finding those monsters. Because I think it's only like 13% of the time that they will draw nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
So you gotta up those percentages to stop the. Like, sometimes it's just that one card plus whatever else works in your hand. Yeah. I really like the main deck Cosmic Cyclones. Where were these when Mystic Mind was running around? Mystic Mind was running around and people refused to include any spell and traps that got rid of spell. I guess it was a little bit different of a format with Halka 5-racks and high monster count decks running around.
Not so often right now will a turn be had that immediately ends the game. Most of these games last at least a few more turns, and thus, Mystic Mind would not even do that well.
Yeah, we'll have to see if this game's going to go a few more turns, and it's game number 2 here at our World Championship Point playoff. The winner of this will move on to top 8 and then have to win 2 more rounds, and then they'll be going to the World Championship in Japan this year in August. Let's go. It's going to be hot, but it's going to be an awesome time. So it looks like Pac not starting off with any Purrely monsters, not even a quick play spell, which I'm assuming means he had to draw some side deck cards. His face does not look like he's excited about his hand. He could just be focused, locked in right now. But sets 3, and Couch also not starting off with a normal opening.
Yeah, going into the Rise Heart, this is potentially okay if there's a copy of Kashtira Theosis in Dominic's hand.
Just turn it to a level 7 and then Theosis it to try and get out a Unicorn or Fenrir. Probably Fenrir, I guess. No, I guess you go Unicorn to Birth, maybe.
Yeah, you can extend further.
It's going to get hit with Book of Moon.
Opting to choose to use the Book of Moon now instead of later on Theosis, or just cut it off later. Try not to allow any more pressure.
Hey, we get those turns we were asking for.
This very unfortunate for both players here. Not something you get to see both decks so consistent at doing what they do, but now they both have to just play into what are likely very soft interruptions. But my friend Purrely, that is definitely one you want to see, having access to most likely any name that you want at this point.
Except Delicious.
Except Delicious. You still have a chance, just only 32%.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
There's always a chance. But yeah, I kind of like when both players get a little unlucky and both draw bad, I'm okay with it, because I'm like, okay, now we got a cool game. It's going to be a unique experience.
I imagine Pac's going to try to go into Happy Memory, just being able to set up Happiness, try to go after all the back row with its attack effect, being able to attach as well as bounce one of those sets, and then be able to just attack as many times, maybe set up a Zeus play. Although
really good at making Zeus.
Not going to be able to do that, I believe, in this instance when there's only one set monster on the field, not going to be able to make it indestructible with something like Delicious Memory.
Looks like he gets 3 happies?
Yep, and there's a happy in the hand.
Not trolling.
I do like that you can tell which memory it is based on the card art always. It's like, oh, he's happy here. Oh, he looks sleepy. I'm just waiting for the sad memory, the one that he doesn't want to think about that often.
Yeah, I don't want them to have a sad memory, personally.
It's the one you push back deep down and the thoughts come up. No, but it looks like he's going to activate the happy memory here. Targeting the My Friend Purrely, so next time it's destroyed, it's not. Discards Ash Blossom, enjoys Spring. So
do you think he's going into Purrely or Purrely here?
Looks like he's thinking about Purrely. But you did mention last time you usually go into Purrely when you've already used the My Friend Purrely, because this is the main target for Purrely is usually My Friend Purrely. And it's going to be hit with infinite impermanence. I think the only thing you can add is the field spell, right? The Stray Purrely Street.
Or Purleap as well, right?
Oh, and Purleap, yeah, true.
So infinite impermanence, I think pretty expected from Dominic's side here. Going to be able to cut off the set in his column as well. And Lily is the ideal target for infinite impermanence here. It's like one of the only once per turn effects in the deck.
It is.
So now Pack's going to be cut off from that effect for the remainder of the turn.
And if you aren't familiar with Purrely, it's a really cool deck. They basically have a bunch of quick play spells that you also have a bonus effect that you can discard a card to special summon a Purrely monster from your deck, which is, there's two of them right now, Purrely and Purrely. So that is what happened there. Making sure that My Friend doesn't have any other effects. I know it's an Exceeds monster set. There might be any Purrely card, but you get to add back the up to three quick plays from your graveyard.
That is what Dom is trying to clarify right now. You definitely want to know that before you start committing to an attack.
That's correct.
It's never lived that long.
Yes, Rise Heart is a once per turn.
Attack.
All right, so goes to the battle phase, takes down the Purrely.
Stand by me.
Didn't seem to have any way to continue playing.
Just as this, sometimes is this why Rise Heart's not so strong? You don't want to play him because it's all you got. It's not much. But I mean, if you didn't have the Rise Heart, he'd be in much worse shape.
You know, it does give you access to certain lines because it is a Kashtira monster. You're able to use something like Theosis. But I think because we've seen none of that from Dominic's side, Pack has a pretty good idea of what those sets can be.
Defensive cards.
Yeah, non-engine entirely.
I felt like he thought for a second on that Book of Moon, like but he asked like, "Oh, do you have any other chains?" Like I thought Caps may have thought about Lancing just cause, but not that he would ever would, but still has that moment pause. Yeah, that's what when I play, I like to have like my answers already ready in my head. So if my opponent's going to ask me a question or do something, I know immediately what I'm going to respond, so I don't give any extra information away.
Not everyone can be as adept.
I mean, this is a much younger me and a much earlier time. So it looks like he's going to add. I didn't get to see what he revealed for My Friend Purrely, but I'm assuming they were different ones. Maybe one was a Delicious.
Yeah, opting. Imagine if they were the three of the same card. He would just take one.
Yeah, but I do expect to see a lot of this matchup this weekend. It's going to be a lot of Kashtira. It's going to be a lot of Purrely. I don't know if Rika Sun Avalon is going to translate over to our NAWCQ as much as prevalent it was at the European Championship the EU WCQ last weekend. But it definitely a deck I have my eye out on.
I think Rika specifically is one of those decks that just gets significantly worse the more people are aware of it.
It has like the hidden sleeper edge.
But I think Purrely is pretty much in the same boat where players are very adequately prepared for it most of the time, but right now there are less copies of Dimensional Barriers everywhere, not necessarily as aware of every single type of effect, maybe not knowing that the Xyz monsters are kind of like the Paleozoics, where if you interrupt the chain, they don't get to attach and they miss out on all those beneficial effects.
Okay.
If you have that knowledge, you're able to defeat it much easier. And I think everyone in this playoff is going to be in that boat where they know how to play against it because they're just prepared for it. But you know, there are plenty of players that still chose to play this deck anyway. And we'll see. Like it worked for Pack round 1. We'll see if it can get past Dominic round 2. Yeah, Dominic is always prepared to play against anything.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the best duelists out there. And so we saw Pack normal summon this Purrely and then try to use the effect to excavate the top 3. But that was met by Ash Blossom from Couch.
Attack and defense for materials based on Delicious Memory.
And then
the beauty is 16,000.
Yeah. Okay. Trying to clarify the stats of all the extra monsters.
When things get a little delicious, all the stats get a little crazy.
Delicious Memory is the one that has the ability to add stats based on the number of materials that monster has.
Which can add up really quickly because they can really stack up the materials up to thrice per turn.
Dominic revealing a Book of Moon there almost. But Purrely, because it was only Ash Blossom, not melt something like along the lines of Infinite Impermanence, still has its other effect live, able to use one of the quick spells from hand to combine themselves and overlay into the same name here.
Yep, and that's Beauty.
If you're using a P minor, you can't ask about cards that have not been made public knowledge before.
Just
Well,
checking
I just asked the stats of the cards.
Sure. Of a card that was not made public knowledge.
Well, I asked you if I could ask stats, you told me yes.
Now we're just clarifying if he was able to ask for
So I
the stats
know
of a
where,
card
right?
that's known in the extra deck.
Yeah, just having a quick. But for those who don't know, Beauty is once return. It's not a quick effect unless it has a pretty memory underneath it. But if you have that pretty memory, you can negate a monster effect on the field. And it also has that up to thrice per turn. When you activate the Purrely Quick Play spell, you can attach a card on the field. Attach that card to this card on the field. Yeah. Not, it'd be crazy if you could attach any card on the field, but you attach the memory to it as well. And then you can change the battle position of a monster on your opponent's side of the field.
Yeah, one of the more niche ways of finding those OTK lines with Happiness, being able to put a monster in attack mode, make it indestructible, and then attack it 4 times. That is like, if you have the hand that can summon as many times as you want, that is something that you can do. But for the most part, just used as a form of effect negation, because that's just a strong on-the-field effect.
Oh, yeah. Definitely not bad. And then Purrely always has that chance to Purrely up into a bigger Purrely. They jump into Noir, and then they have the 5 materials and be unaffected. I think at least if everyone has a general idea, they at least know what X Purrely Noir does.
Mm-hmm.
They know that's the one they need to worry about the most. But then that's where you can gain the advantages of playing Purrely if you know how to utilize all the other aspects of the deck.
Noir is such a crazy card because it can go after cards in the graveyard as well, but it's also not once per turn.
Yeah, I mean, as you use the effect, you lose the materials, then you can start affecting it once it gets a little lower on materials. So it's almost like if you can force out the effect enough times, you can get rid of it, but it's easier said than done.
It's all fun and games until they make the second one.
Yeah, well, see, that's why you just side the thrust with one Herald of the Abyss, and then you're good to go.
You just have to hope that the Purrely player didn't opt to go into Noir after drawing 6 cards. When they go leap after pretty Delicious Memory 3 times, or not Delicious Memory, Sleepy Memory.
Yeah, that is. Oh yeah, sleepy memory. As long as it's a material, you're able to draw a card during your opponent's standby phase. But it's for each one that's attached. And then when you yeep into the bigger one, I guess it's eep. You jump into the bigger one, Purrely yeep. You're able to trigger all those effects again since you're still in the standby phase, which is one of the coolest things about Purrely.
It's a little dangerous though, because you're playing into things along the lines of Kurikara.
That is true. Kurikara is insane. My favorite thing to tribute off the field of Kurikara, Baron de Fleur. Because if they don't die, I'm taking it. Give me that Baron de Fleur on my side of the field. Do you think Kurikara is going to be a popular tech card in people's main decks this weekend, or is it going to be more of a side deck card for Kashtira?
I think for the majority of strategies, it's going to be in the side deck, but I think the decks that are playing Small World will have it in the main deck because it's so easy to get access. And when you have that card searchable, it is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, especially going second. You're just like, I'm just going to get a card that's going to break your whole board, and either it's big enough to attack you for game, or it's going to take whatever the best monster is out of your graveyard. I am a big fan of Kurikara Divincarnate. I think Triple Tactics Thrust was going to be a big one that we're going to see a lot of this weekend. It's been pretty popular since the beginning. There's a lot of cards that I'm looking out for. I know Nibiru's been up in popularity, so we're in the phase of the Nibiru circle where people are like, oh, everyone's playing Nibiru, so I'm going to start playing around Nibiru. But then, as the circle continues to spin, then they'll stop playing Nibiru because everyone's playing around it. And then they'll stop playing Nibiru because everyone's playing around it. And then they'll start playing Nibiru again because no one's playing around it. It's just a constant cycle.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was really heavily influencing how Kashtira played right now, is because they were choosing to play into Nibiru. They were going into the line that would start with the classic Unicorn Fenrir, grab the Rise Heart, but instead just go straight into the Shangri like they did prior when they were trying to zone lock, use the effect of the Rise Heart, set up Big Bang, get 2 more monsters on the field, overlay for another Shangri that's 3 materials to put a Rise Heart on top. It's very heavy investment, but it was able to put up that pressure, but really fall into Nibiru. But if it goes uncontested, yeah.
Ends the battle phase.
Okay, it looks like we got the little judge call sorted out, so we're going straight into the battle phase. It looks like Pac is going to be looking for a Zeus or something. Maybe he's going to attack with that Beauty. There is no field spell up, so it can be targeted.
Thinking.
No straight Purrely Street.
Target.
And there's the leap. Just going to go straight into another one, and there's the Lance.
Wait, because the Lance is going to stop him from getting Book of Moon, though, right?
Yes.
But he'll be a lot less attack.
So chilling.
So right now he has 16 attack plus. Is that Delicious underneath it? It is, right?
Sure.
So
I would assume it's Pretty Memory.
yeah, it is pretty. It is pretty. Yeah. Beauty is pretty. See, there's a lot of context clues to help you out.
You guy dies.
What was
You guy dies.
that?
Because Lance puts it at lower?
Yeah, the attack continues. No, it's still in the battle step, no? Because it's on attack decoration. It's on the.
Yeah,
It's
so,
so-
so
yeah.
it's like you do the, you
Yeah,
declare
but it's still on the
attack.
battle step, so it doesn't die yet. Because I still have the
Oh,
battle
you do
step.
something else?
Yeah, I'm thinking on the battle step.
Yep, got to resolve the chain. Going to put those cards in the graveyard. Lance and Book of Moon.
Pack almost put himself in a
Yep,
dangerous
my guy
position,
dies,
putting the
we'll
card in the
take
grave.
700.
Oh, well, he's committing to it.
You
I'll
want
go
to make
effective
sure that
my
there's
friend
nothing else you
Purrely.
can do in the battle step. Oh, and then
then-
since the Seas monster left the field, you're able to return up to 3 Purrely quick plays.
This is pretty big, because now he has access to Happy Memory again.
That's a happy thing to hear about.
Is he going to give up the other copy of Ash?
I mean, I think he's in decent
Activate,
shape. Couch is
Purrely
low on
memory?
cards. He's just one card in hand, just a Rise Heart on the field. If Pat can establish any sort of board here,
Oh, opting to get rid of both the spells
We're
here.
both getting 1,000. I'm at 73 tier 9.
going to
Effect.
summon Purrely.
Yep, Happy does add, no, it was Pretty that adds 1,000 to both. So that was one that was used earlier, making sure to keep track of something like that. And there is Lily. Lily's going to be able to add any Purrely card that is not a quick play spell.
Looking at the stray Purrely street.
Maybe
It's sad to think there's a street with all these
Activate.
cute stray kitties on. I want to go to the stray Purrely street.
You say that now until there's a giant one just staring you down.
There's just like an ex-Purrely Noir at the end ready to devour. Okay, Book of Eclipse.
And there is another Book of Moon type effect. We, again, expected this. You had to, like, if they were going to be cards that did something. And there is that Ash Blossom able to stop it.
Huge. Yeah, Book of Eclipse not adding cards, but has that effect at the end phase that makes your opponent draw cards. So it includes an effect that draw cards, so you're able to Ash Blossom that particular book.
Right, on Pack for holding that Ash Blossom there, knowing that he's going to find value eventually. And now he's able to use the effect of Lily, use it targeting, I believe, is that Pretty Memory or is it Happy Memory?
The one underneath, I can't tell.
Well, it looks like it's going into Pretty.
I think it's Pretty Memory.
Yeah, because that's a beauty in his hand. Going into another beauty here, so he's going to have
end
that
phase
effect to be able to negate an effect, but now he's also be able to use the effective street to attach any of the quick plays onto it during the end phase, and that is going to be Sleepy. He's going to get another draw during the standby phase here.
I think that's a smart choice here with Couch low on cards, like just amassing more advantage is probably his best bet. But really, Pack showing the power of Purrely. You know Purrely can go into Noir, but can also dodge forms of removal as well.
Yeah, this is where the deck just
Standby?
gets really dangerous. You haven't really committed very much, but now you have access to Street, you have access to the free draws from Sleepy Memory, you have access to My Friend, so if the card leaves the field, you are able to add all those quick spells back.
Beauty can negate a monster effect. Couch has a monster stuck on his field, so he can't special summon the Kashtira from his hand. He happens to draw into one.
It looks like there's a copy of Ash Blossom and,
Fin?
no, it might have been a Scareclaw Ash.
I was scared. I could tell it was a monster of some
Yeah,
sort.
there are definitely two monsters in Dominic's hand. Either way, does not look great for him right now.
This is the top 16 of the World Qualifier point
Take on
playoff.
He looks like he has to crash his Rise Heart here
Okay.
Yeah.
and then concede. This one, not as simple as the first game here where Pac was pretty handily defeated by the Kashtira deck, doing what it's supposed to do, setting up fairly ideally, choosing to commit into the nib, but setting up so much follow-up that it was impossible for Pac to get it back. But being able to grind through not ideal starts from both players and being able to prove that it was the edgier deck, like the one that was able to get more resources quickly.
Yeah, I think I was going to touch on that a little bit. It's just that in this strategy, in this kind of thing, when both decks draw bad, I think Pac has that advantage because, yeah, there's so many more top decks. All your quick plays can summon the monsters from the deck, and then once you, even if they go to the graveyard, like your stuff gets negated by infinite permanence and all that, you still are able to attach those materials from the graveyard. You have more resources. Kashtira is pretty dependent on how your opening hand looks. Like, if you don't have anything, you can't really rely on a top deck too often. I mean, unless there's no interruptions. Like, because once you're already at the point where your opponent has multiple back rows, just drawing a Unicorn or a Fenrir, there's going to be something to deal with it. So definitely in a grind state, I think I'd give the edge to Purrely in the Purrely-Kashtira matchup. I don't know about the Dominic Couch Pack matchup, but they're both excellent players. I mean, that's the cool thing about this point playoff is everyone in here is a decorated duelist. We have YCS champions. We have former world competitors. We have multiple-time YCS champions like Couch, and they're all here just trying to compete for that world spot. And it's kind of funny because these are all they're like competition for this tournament, but whoever they make it to that finals with, that's going to be, I mean, there's still competition in the World Championship, but you still have some sort of camaraderie amongst the whole NA World Championship qualifying team. You know, this would be a good time to talk about a funny story. So when they first started the World's qualifying points, there wasn't a playoff. It was just the top 2 highest point getters got to go. And that happened to be me and Asala. You know, Asala, you want to tell us about that experience? What it was like traveling around to all the regionals, YCSs to get to this point?
Yeah, so being top 2, it adds an additional layer of pressure. You weren't facing off against the rest of the world. You were facing off against those other 2 people that could beat you. So it wasn't enough.
But we kind of worked together.
Yeah, you can kind of choose who you want to go with. But there was at least like 5 or 6 people that you had to beat out. And it became this thing where you didn't have to just go to the regionals. You didn't have to just go to the YCS. You had to do better than those other people.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to just get some points and be in the top 16. You had to win the regional.
I mean, we played at how many regionals against each other? It was round 6, round 7.
Yeah, it was definitely stressful, and I would argue more difficult than the one they're playing right now, but I'm glad for them that they made it simpler. It's a little bit healthier to have that advantage to be able to just ease your way in. If you're consistent throughout the season, you're likely going to make it into the playoff, and then you just get to shine. But then that's through the difficulty. At least we were guaranteed from making it after the playoffs, or not through the playoffs, but just having those top 2 spots. But now
I had to wait till the end of the weekend, but I wasn't clear till Sunday. But it's definitely, I do like the point. It is also just epic, right? Just having a tournament with all these top players, and the fact that we get to have this extra day of live streaming to watch these awesome guys duke it out before we have the main event tomorrow, fantastic. I love it. And I'm glad all you at home can be here to enjoy some awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! With us. This format's really fantastic. Like, I know, Kashtira is one of the best decks, and it's going to be one of the decks you have to think about when you're constructing whatever theme you're trying to work with, whether it be branded, Purrely. Even we saw Exo Sisters win the remote duel YCS in this format, and I think the other finals was like a 60-card Math Meg Cyber's Pile. It's just really cool to see the other decks be able to thrive, even though, Kashtira is one of the most dominant decks. The Unicorn hit to 2 definitely hurt. I mean, you talk about the consistency issues. Like, if your Pot of Prosperity gets Ash, you might not have anything else. And we saw in that game, it was just Rise Heart plus Book of Moon, Lands, Book of Eclipse, Infinite Permanence. Like, you're playing normal monster beatdown at that point. Like, there's not much you can really do from that aspect of it. So I do think, the Unicorn going to hurt the deck a tad bit, but it's definitely still one of the top contenders to beat going into a competitive tournament like the NAWCQ.
Absolutely. Kashtira proves time and time again just how resilient it is and how powerful the individual cards are, which I want to circle back to because we talk about how powerful each deck is at top decking, but realistically, all Kashtira needs is one card, and if you don't get rid of that one card, even if you're able to stop it, it's still able to just do it again and again. So one of the biggest things that's cutting it off from doing that is putting a monster on the field. So why would Dom put that Rise Heart on the field? Do you think he just, because he knew that he had so many non-engine cards, like the multiple Book of Moons, that he was going to be able to resolve Rise Heart twice, being able to banish something like Theosis and another card?
And then add from the hand? I think so. I think, you kind of have to assume if Pac didn't activate any Purrely quick play spells and then set 3 turn 1, chances are none of those are Purrely quick plays. So what are they? They're going to be the Book of Moons, the Lance. I guess he was trying to put, with a bad hand, he's trying to put Pac on a clock. By summoning this, you have to start using your cards right now. Otherwise, in 2 turns, I'm going to be able to start doing something. He's more so not relying on his top decks and just trying to set up a play. Either way, it was probably doomed from the start for him just because just a really bad hand.
I mean, we talked about that 13%. Sometimes the deck just cannot do anything, and it's what you want to take advantage of. And that's the fault of Kashtira, why a lot of players will try to find something else to play, because otherwise Kashtira would just be the only deck to play, right? If it's just always that powerful, but sometimes you just don't see any of the powerful monsters.
Yeah, I mean, I was always the guy building my deck to beat the best deck. I would sometimes play the best deck, but a lot of times my deck was I just teched out a lot of cards just to beat those matchups. Like when Dino Rabbit, my deck was full of Spirit Reapers, Arcana Force the Fool. Every card I could possibly play that was good against that matchup. And guess what? It still wasn't enough. I'd beat 7 of them, then the other 2 would still beat me. So sometimes you just have to find more blowout cards. Nowadays in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a little more simple, a little more easier to counter strategies, knowing what you're doing. I think another thing about Kashtira, another layer that's difficult is, even if you're not dealing with a Rise Heart, they could just side in Dimension Shifter or main deck it, and then you have the Shifter plus dealing with a Fenrir Unicorn is almost worse than dealing with just a Rise Heart.
Well, I would argue it's significantly worse.
Shifter is one heck of a card. All right, it looks like they're side deck, they're shuffled. A nice handshake here before game number 3. This is huge. This is game 3. The winner of this will move on to top 8 and just have to win 2 more rounds before they are going to stamp their ticket to Japan in August and go to the World Championship. Feels good to say that. It's been so long since, I was really excited going into this event. I was like, man, why am I so pumped? I'm like, oh yeah, it's the Worlds. Worlds are back. We are going to have a World Championship. The EU roster has already been selected. We got Central America, South America, but now let's talk about it. Dimension Shifter. I knew it was coming. Dimension Shifter into Pot of Prosperity. Oh, he does play multiple copies of Rise Heart. so maybe that's why he opened one.
That is a lot of doubles, but I think there's one card that really stands out there, even though you can see two
The
of them.
Dimension Shifter, right?
Oh, yeah. Having this chain shifter to the Prosperity, we're going to be looking at that, likely the ideal field of just Unicorn Fenrir, Shifter's Resolve. And
We just talked about this.
yeah. Opting for the middle Pressure Planet instead of the one on the edge.
I'd be happy if my opponent took Pressure Planet there, because if he's not taking Book of Moon, then at least his hand's not like the complete gas and like all ready to go.
Yeah, there was not a copy of Ash Blossom, which we can pretty much predict from not hitting the Pot of Prosperity. Pack not looking too happy about the situation. I wanted to talk about like what you think Pack would do, knowing that he'd have to go second against the Kashtira deck again, and like how difficult it was for game one. But now he has access to cards like Kurikara. But it looks like Dom's not even going for something like Theosis. He has Birth as well. Birth being extremely powerful against a deck like Purrely that's activating spells and traps. You're going to be able to banish those cards with Birth, and then just follow up, right?
Really good against Branded, surprisingly.
Oh,
it's very annoying. Yeah.
It looks like Dom is committing quite a lot here. Actually, this makes a lot of sense because he's still not going to summon that. I'm quite surprised that he's about to overlay right now.
Looks like he is taking a moment to consider his options.
I imagine this Rise Heart is just going to banish the Ogre again, just so Birth can summon it back.
Yep, does look. That is a really cool way to a really cool tech.
Because now
I think Couch did use preparations in his list that he won in Vegas. Actually.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I remember this exact play actually.
So now, I imagine after you add off the preparation or add the Kashtira preparations off the Ogre here, you're just going to set a couple cards and pass, or like you're not going to let these monsters leave the field. You're just gone wide, which can be punished by something along the lines of evenly matched.
Evenly matched is pretty good against Kashtira. They don't really have any good answers to it. As long as you can evenly match and still deal with whatever their one, like maybe a Rise Heart or something would be. But
yeah, like I think Dom might want to just, when he knows he's in such a strong position, he can just set up maybe just an Rise Heart anyway, so that the preparations does more, and that if he was to find evenly matched, then there's less that you lose.
True.
Although obviously a Rise Heart is very redundant with Dimensional Shifter, but sometimes just that banish face down from a Rise Heart's effect can be worthwhile.
Sure.
And Rise Heart's also a lot easier to deal with than Dimension Shifter too. So even if you're able to get that Rise Heart off the field, then still has to deal with that Shifter. Now, like Paxton doesn't need the cards to go to the graveyard in order to function. Like he'll still maybe find a way to Zeus or something is probably what he's going to look for. Oh, he does have the Dark Lure, that's step one, but he's still going to have to deal with preparations, and he has the Lance too. This is a hand here from Couch.
This is rough. This is absolutely very rough for Pakwag here. Also had the line where he could have used Shangri-La just because he has access to Pressure Planet already, so he has more destruction through the field spell effect, but opting to just get as much value from Rise Heart as you can, and now it's indestructible because it has the Infinite Track Goliath under it from that Pot of Prosperity. Again, one of those cards that you're not supposed to have access to, but Pot of Prosperity proving time and time again how strong it is. Oh, whiffing off of Purrely here, and we saw the Grave of Super Ancient.
We were talking about that before the match. We were discussing if we would side in the Grave against Kashtira, and it looks like he did make the choice. He even sided in going second.
Nothing has gone well for Pack this game so far. Dominic opening an incredibly strong hand, having every answer so far, and then Purrely not able to hit off the Excavate.
Pack definitely looks like a guy who got shifted. Now he's trying to find a way around it.
Well, I don't have to tell you until on resolution.
Opting to use Sleeping Memory here. He is, see what he discards. Likely these are cards that you're never going to be able to get back.
Yeah, Purrely doesn't have much Banish Zone recursion, that's for sure.
That's your next battle damage 0, right?
Yep.
Or effect damage.
Yep.
I know what those quick yeps mean. There's a lot of duels do, and now let's see what he's going to decide to summon. He still has to find a way to Zeus, and he might have a chance here.
I imagine this Unicorn is going to banish the Zeus.
Does he not play 2? I'm assuming he plays 2, yeah. There's a couple of them. That would be that's a card I think you still have to play at 2 just because, yeah, that Unicorn being so powerful. I tried to go down to 1 Lubellion in my branded deck, but anytime they have Unicorn, it's just like devastating if they go after it.
Oh, 1, 2.
All right, so this is going to be an important chain here. A Rise Heart Chain Link 1 to attach, Lily effect to add here. I imagine the Rise Heart is going to chain, going after one of the Purrelys here.
I don't think it matters which one. Yeah.
And then the preparation is just going to just summon back the Fenrir like it did game 1, and just get rid of both. Yep, that is what's going to be happening here. Goliath still making indestructible. Targeting the Purrely. That's going to be 2 Purrelys banished immediately right now.
Okay.
Potentially all 3 if Rise Hard hit the other one.
Yep. You 2 now. This adds.
Yeah.
Okay, not chaining preparations here. So going to be able to potentially just do that later.
Go ahead and adds my friend Purrely with Purrely's effect.
Here you
I'm thinking about unattaching.
go. You attached one already.
No, I already have this.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
you did?
he
Okay,
only
sure.
attached. He didn't attach from the last chain when a card got banished.
What'd you add?
So this is resolving that chain link 1, and now Rise Hard will chain again because another card was banished.
Okay. Thinking on Res.
No.
Anything? Okay.
Rystar's just the master of the banish pile. Like he if it's banished, he has access to all of it. Like I kind of like that fact that he's like this huge boss monster that's just like has so much reach. I think he looks super cool too. I really like the Starlight one.
Yeah, Rise Heart, unfortunately, for such a card that is just diabolical whenever you see it, it is one of the coolest looking cards.
You can always take solace in that and be like, oh, at least it looks awesome. So it looks like he's going to activate, is that Happy Memory?
That is, in fact, Happy Memory. There's the preparations and chain here.
To summon? Sure.
Likely going back for that Fenrir.
Yep, and here comes Fenrir. So is he probably going to summon the 3rd copy of Purrely from the deck?
Yeah, Dom choosing to hold off on when he wants to use the Fenrir here, forcing Pac to, if he wants to commit another body, he's going to have to use 2 cards in his hand because of the discard from any of the Purrely effects, and then he's going to be able to potentially banish all 3 copies of Purrely.
That would be devastating.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I got this off it.
Oh, then on a new chain, you should have activated Rise
Yes,
again.
Rise Heart did miss 1 trigger from its own effect, banishing the Purrely.
Let's attach them.
Okay, good.
It is mandatory, so he does have to attach another card here. Those are all 3
Okay,
from
so,
that Prosperity.
I'm resolving this. I'll protect this.
I mean, it's like a really huge bonus of the Pot of Prosperity, just being able to add those extra materials. If you can still deal with the Arise Heart now, at least the materials won't go to the graveyard. They'll be banished thanks to the shifter, so there's that.
Great.
You got to look on the glass half full. What can we do? Not what can't we do. So this is that 3rd copy of Purrely, so if it goes banished, they're all gone.
Yep, sure.
Opting not to use the effect of Purrely here, which makes sense because you're just going to throw it away into the Fenrir. But Arise Heart is mandatory.
Slacker?
Oh, Slacker can protect itself from being destroyed once.
Okay.
So
Attack, take no damage.
Yep.
If it's 2.
Going to be able to go into the Zeus here.
Okay.
This is the clear he
Plays
was looking
down
for.
it. Yeah, he's going to be able to do it. He just had to find a way into Zeus.
I'll go to end phase and I'll declare the effect.
They're all still going to be banished, yeah.
Scare Claw, you top deck. Okay.
Wow, yeah, Pac found a way to do it.
Go.
I didn't realize he was playing the Slacker Magician, but he definitely showed you why you should play Slacker Magician in your Purrely strategy. He was able to navigate well through the shifter, through the whole board.
Dom not drawing a way
How
out.
much time's left?
There still a live
That's
Zeus
my
here,
name.
and there is another My Friend Purrely.
Wow, what a turnaround here. Pac literally just turning the game on its head. Really showing you that even with Rise Heart, that was pretty much an ideal hand from Couch. I don't think you could have. The only thing that could have changed maybe having a Book of Moon on top of everything else.
I think
Or
maybe he got a little greedy there, not opting to summon the Fenrir, because he didn't consider that Pac was just not going to activate the next Lily.
Yeah, I think that is where the turning point happened.
I'm going to reveal.
Going for, it looks like 3 copies of Pretty Memory?
Oh my god, I can't find it. Oh.
Okay, there it is. Trying to be very mindful of the clock here, trying to play as fast as he can. Opting to grab the spell instead of just going straight for the Lily.
Activate. We both at.
There's
I'm
the
at 85,
Kurikara.
you're 9.
The Starlight Kurikara, one of my favorite Starlight rares out of, what is that, Power of the Elements? Just saw for my fans out there, I know they love it when I call out the sets the cards are from. That's Kari Curry Divine Incarnate. You can find it in Power of the Elements in a store near you.
Effect target.
So the Purrely is going to add the Purrely Yeep. It's going to attach the material of the Beauty.
Yep.
Battle phase.
So now there is
2016.
dealing 46 points of damage here.
Taking the lead. He had to pay 500 for my
44.
friend.
Now he has access to the effect of Zeus, the effect of Beauty, and then the leap as well to go into 1 rank higher.
A few ranks higher. 5 ranks higher.
He will.
You go from E Purrely to X. So just one
letter higher, really.
Main,
one
effective 5.
true. So this has just been a huge turnaround. Pack is going to start his next turn using my friend Purrely.
I imagine.
I love those are my friend Purrely Field Center from Yu-Gi-Oh! Day. That's so I want one so bad.
Let's
1,
see
2,
if
3,
Pack
4,
is
5,
able to
6.
get that delicious memory here.
We'll never know.
That was
oh, you can see?
Yeah.
What did he get? Sleepy?
Sleepy, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You can kind of tell, like, Sleepy's kind of like a grayscale to it a little bit.
Sleepy's a common. The other ones aren't.
Okay, there you go. That's a good way to tell. I didn't see any foiling.
I believe there's only one copy of Lily back in his deck as far as monsters go,
Set.
because all 3
Effect.
Lily
Target.
Purrelys are accounted for.
Yeah, I think he has the one. If he's playing 3 and 3, which he should, he has one more Purrely left in deck.
He's using the effect of the pretty under the beauty right now, being able to send a card to send another card, or to attach a card rather, and then Lance's
Battle
chain
phase,
so that
3000.
the beauty could not use its effect to
Attack
attach the
for
sleeping
800.
from the grave,
All right.
but he's able to attack again,
That's fine.
and then he's going to leap for
Oh, he leaped, but it's Lance, so it's unaffected.
yes,
Set.
getting a little too aggressive here. That might be the slip if he needs, but.
800.
There is
So
still
he's
a
at-
Zeus as well as the effect of beauty to negate a monster effect here. So I think
Yep,
Pack is
600.
still just ahead enough.
Definitely not as good as he was, but Couch is going to need a lot.
I mean, it has to start with something like Dark Ruler, which I doubt. Yep,
Nope.
there it is. Packwat able to move forward in the surprise upset, I want to say.
Slacker Magician, not slacking in this duel at all. That is just incredible. Pack, I mean, you're staying calm. It's tough. Like, when everything's going wrong, it's hard to not get tilted and be like, I got Shifter. He opened full combo. He set back rows that were in